Guys, we might see a big change coming into the NBA, and I don't mean like a simple rule change. I mean something that's going to change the way we view the NBA draft, the offseason, team building as a whole for the next, I don't know, couple decades if they end up changing it, because this is serious. Adam Silver is looking to change the NBA draft and the lottery odds and how it's going to play out because of how much he dislikes tanking. What's going on, guys? My name is Hoops Rhythms, and I want to talk about this because it's a very important matter. I mean, we're looking at a league to where we've had tanking for years, knowing that like teams that know they're not going to be able to succeed, they're just going to take a hit, take the year off, do whatever it takes, and you're going to get the best player out of college, or at least top 5 player out of college. Or maybe you get lucky and you jump up to the first overall pick. Who knows? But that's just been part of the game for years, decades now. We've been doing it since the 80s. But because of how bad it's been, and with the trade deadline just making it so much more apparent than it ever was before, it looks like we're taking real steps. And recently, I mean, Sean's just came out saying that there was a meeting with a bunch of ideas with possible like solutions to this problem with the tanking across the NBA. And they came out with a couple ideas. Now, none of these that I'm about to point out to you guys are going to be end all be all. These are not going to be like they're all going to be part of the solution. The solution may not even be in this screenshot that I'm going to show you, but these are all, some of them are pretty bad, some of them are pretty good ideas as to what can be taken into place and could change the NBA draft forever. The first one I want to talk about is very straightforward, is the first round picks can only be protected in top 4 or lottery protected, which I like that idea. Now, it may just be me, but I think the picks where we're saying, hey, 1 through 4 is going to go to this team, then 5 to 10 is going to go to this team, then 10 to 20 is going to go to this team, 20 to 30. I think those protections are crazy. We're doing way too much of the protections. I barely even see how any of those teams come out at all as a win. Like it's way too much. I think top 4, top 14, maybe even top 10, like lottery protected top 4, those are simple, straightforward. It makes those picks much more valuable instead of just being like, hey, we'll give this out because there's an X percentage amount of chance that we might come out of it and this team can get this. Like it's way too much. Way too much. So let's go for that. That's not even to fix the tanking issue. That's just because we got to change that. But the second one's going to be freezing the lottery odds at the trade deadline or at a later date, maybe like the All-Star break or something. Now, with this one specifically, it's a little iffy. Once I read it, and I'm telling you right now, I just feel like there's a lot of different teams and players that are going to just kind of bend the rules or go over the corner on this one because of how we might get someone who's like, hey, I've been hurt all season, but I can come back at the end after the All-Star break or after the trade deadline. Or we might have some people just like in and out of the rotations that when the lottery odds freeze, they're coming out there. It's not a bad idea because I do enjoy the concept of it. I do think that the concept of it can be taken in a certain way. I do think it could be like tweaked a bit and maybe they put it to a certain date where it won't have too many like exploits, but the idea is nice. I just don't think that should be the issue. I don't think that's going to really solve it because if you're bad throughout the whole year, you're probably going to be bad the rest of the season. And I don't see that being a very big difference in the lottery odds. Now, the third one we have is no longer allowing a team to pick top 4 in consecutive years and or after consecutive bottom 3 finishes. Now, there's yes and no for me. Yes, because if you're bad and you've been bad for 4 years and you're still constantly bottom 5 in the NBA, bro, you gotta chill out. Like, relax. You at some point you also gotta compete because you got fans. You're trying to grow something. Nobody's gonna want to go to a team who's just constantly being bad. I think 3 years bad is plenty to be able to be like, all right, we got our pieces, let's start making moves. But then at the same time, that should be the cap. Like 3 years is fine. But if we can't cap it after like 1 or 2 years, because then at the same time, there are draft classes that just are not as good. Like I wouldn't want to punish Atlanta's pick in 2024, them having the first overall pick in Zachary Risache. I don't want to blame them and be like, hey, that was your first overall pick. You're cooked. You can't do that again. Like, no, it's not fair. Unfortunate. No offense to him. Oops. No offense to him, but he's not a Cooper Flag. He's not a Wemby. He's not a Paolo. These are all the first overall picks. And that's just not Atlanta's fault. But I don't think teams should be out there 5-6 seasons in a row being bottom 5 in the NBA because that's also being way too much. That's doing way too much because at some point you also got to start competing. That's when you draw the line. The fourth idea that came up was that teams can't pick top 4 the year after they made the conference finals. This one I disagree with entirely. There are 2 reasons why. Because one, let's look at the Pacers. The Pacers is like the prime example of this. They just came off a finals appearance. Tyrese Halliburton got hurt. They traded away Miles Turner. And so now they're one of the worst teams in the NBA. It's not their fault that Tyrese Halliburton got hurt. They couldn't afford Miles Turner. They knew Benedict Mathurin was out the way, so they just planned accordingly. because the injury, they shouldn't just be handicapped and be like, no, you guys are cooked. No, they should have the freedom to be like, okay, let's go in a different direction. Let's make sure that when he comes back, we have a better team. So now they can get a really good pick, and I don't think it's their fault. They just acted accordingly. That's being a really good general manager. That's being a really good team, very good franchise. But on the other hand, if they made it to the finals or they made it to the conference finals, like let's say the Oklahoma City Thunder, they have the Clippers picked this season. If the Clippers would have been one of the worst teams in the NBA, like how we all thought they were going to be in the beginning of the season because of that horrible cold streak they had, if they were going to be one of the worst teams in the NBA and they land a top 4 pick and it goes to the Oklahoma City Thunder, I don't see why that's their problem. They traded that pick. When you willingly trade it, you understand the consequences of what might happen. They shouldn't be protected unless they did a top 4 team protected or a top 4 protected. That's different. But it shouldn't be taken away from OKC just because it's not fair to them. Like, no, they traded it. They made a good team. These are earned stripes. So you keep it. That's on them. They traded it, or because they got injured like with the Pacers, it's not their fault. Like these teams are acting accordingly. These were all moves that were planned, some weren't, so they act accordingly, and it's just not something that they should be punished of. So that one doesn't make sense. But there is one like this one, the lottery odds allocated based on 2-year records. I don't got much to say about it. I think the NBA does something similar, the WNBA, but I kind of like the idea. I think it does kind of, there is no like, okay, let's just tank for a year and see what we get. You know, you have to tank for 2 years for you to get a genuine pick. So I don't mind it. It does kind of, if you were just a championship team, like it would stop the Pacers, like again with the Pacers, it would stop a team like that to where they were just competitive, and now they can't tank because their record last year wasn't the worst. So I don't think it's the worst idea to avoid tanking. I don't mind it at all. I mean, if you're a bad team, you're probably gonna be bad for a couple seasons, right? 3 seasons. So for those couple draft picks, you can get decent picks. So I don't mind it. Because it does work with the WNBA. It's just one of those where it's like, I don't even know if I want to roll the dice on it because it sounds kind of safe, but I feel like there's going to be like a couple exceptions that are just kind of bite you in the ass at the end of the second, like at the end, and you're going to be like, fuck, this is where we have this hole in this like rule, but it is what it is. I mean, I don't mind it. I think it's not that bad of an idea. But the last 2, I think, are horrible. We got the lottery extended to include all play-in teams. I think that is horrible. And I mean this because I'm a Heat fan, but I'm seeing the Heat, the Hawks, the Bulls be in the play-in every single season. And if I'm going to watch these teams like the Heat, because they're so stubborn, they don't want to rebuild, right? So in this case, if you do that, yeah, you kind of will stop people like teams from tanking because the Heat definitely won't tank. They won't rebuild again because they're going to be like, oh, we can stay in the play-in and constantly have lottery picks. Like, bro, stop it. Stop it. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with that over and over again. See, I bet the Bulls fans and the Hawks fans feel the same way. I bet that they're glad that like they traded Trae Young because of the fact that you don't want to, bro, I don't want to deal with that. And this is just me being a Heat fan. I'm just going to see my team again and again and again go to the play-in and be like, wait, we can get a decent lottery pick. I don't want that, bro. Let's move on. But the last one is going to be to flatten all odds for all lottery teams. I also think it's kind of iffy, because then we're going to see, like, you know how we had the Luka trade last year, and in theory, Kyrie and AD was going to be a really good team with Klay Thompson, and so they ended up getting lucky with Cooper Flag. They had like a 1.8% chance, but now if you flatten the odds, we're going to see that a lot more, and this is a very serious talk. The whole point of the NBA with the draft and the lottery, if you're one of the worst teams in the NBA, you're going to get one of the best players out of college. In theory, you're going to have a very well-balanced NBA to where this team is on the top of the world right now, and then they just go back to the bottom, and then the team that was at the bottom had tanked for a couple years. They had good players. Now they're at the top because they got the new superstars, and it's supposed to be in rotation. So when you take out that point of now the worst team, if you just don't have the lottery odds in your favor, and you just so happen to be a not well-located NBA team, not a big market, now you're not going to have anybody want to come in free agency. You're not going to be able to trade anybody. And it's just not fair when you have teams like Los Angeles, Boston, Philadelphia, the New York Knicks, these bigger market teams, they're going to have more success in the long run because more people are going to be going over there. If they're going to have very similar odds, I know this is very like circumstantial, but the teams that are worse should have better picks, better draft odds as well. So if you're going to give everybody in the lottery team, like who's in the lottery right now? Let's take a look at who's in the lottery. So I just did a really quick sim, right off the bat. Very quick sim. So we would get Atlanta ends up having the first pick. The Memphis get the second pick. Then it's Washington, Indiana, Sacramento, the Bucks, Brooklyn, Utah, Dallas, Chicago, Charlotte, the Spurs, Portland, and OKC. If that's the case, we would see all of these teams have the same amount of chance to have the first overall pick. So we can either have Atlanta, who probably deserves it because they made the right trade, drop all the way down to 14th, and then Oklahoma ends up being the first pick. They end up having the first overall pick, or the Spurs end up having the first. Could you imagine if the Spurs got the first overall pick because they flattened the odds? Like, imagine somehow miraculously the Spurs and Oklahoma end up having the 1 and 2 picks. One of them gets Cameron Boozer, the other one gets fucking AJ DeBounce. Like, that is crazy to think about. I don't like that idea at all. I understand like you don't want anybody to tank, so everybody's gonna be competitive. So like bro, no. Adam Silver, I'm all about being, thinking outside the box, but at some point we gotta draw the line. But anyways, that was what came out recently. I really wanted to talk about it because I think it's very interesting. Big changes are coming to the league, and this can change the NBA forever. So I do appreciate you guys all watching. Leave a comment down below if you liked any of these that we talked about today. Like the video if you enjoyed watching, and I appreciate it. You guys gotta subscribe because I know you guys enjoy talking about basketball because you guys are watching me. And I'm not even a big creator. So if you guys enjoyed it, you guys got to hit the subscribe button. We're on the same page here. Let's be friends. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.